newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Avoid the Maze. And my guest today is Sara Im, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation, Sara, because we all travel a different path. And sometimes we just meet somebody who is a true survivor. And I don't know about you, but I hear people on a daily basis going, oh, woe is me. Something terrible they believe is happening to them. But the reality of it is that for most of us, it's just a little bump in the road. So I want to welcome you to our show. And I'm hoping that your story can help us all look at life a little more positively and find that creative way to just make each day special.
Thank you for having me on your show, Karen. It's my honor.
Thank you. So when I looked up your bio on podmatch.com, um, you talk about that people live with fear and anxiety. And I know I'm one of those. Although as I get older, my fears seem to lessen a little bit. It's almost like I know, that ghost is not going to jump out behind that tree and scare me anymore. Not like I when I was a little child. But tell us about, how you got captive and what it meant to you at that time and how it helped you become the woman you are today.
Of course, I, I will be happy to talk about that. Let me start from my upbringing, my childhood. Um, I grew up in the countryside. My parents are farmers, so as you imagine, I live in the village that's surrounded by tropical fruit and vegetation and fresh river, uh, fresh water river that is nearby, and it's just beautiful. And I love that setting, and I love how my parents treated me. They love me so much. I was the firstborn child, of course. Of course, I get that love, and they did not groom me to grow up to be a farmer.
Okay.
They they realized that farming is hard work, a lot of hard work. They don't want me to follow their footsteps, so they encourage me to go to school, continue to go to school and get higher education. So that's where I heading. When as soon as I finished high school, I went to college. College is far away from home in the capital city. So that means I left everybody behind in my hometown. I went to the city pursuing higher education.
Okay.
But unfortunately, something very bad happened to Cambodia. In 1975, while I was away from home, this communist Khmer Rouge came in. They took over our country. They managed to shut down everything. I mean, everything. There is no marketplace. There is no bank. There's no restaurant, no post office. And I was stuck. I want to go home so badly, but I could not because all the roads are shut down. They cut down all the transportation. So I have no way to go home. So with that in mind, I panicked. You know, I was just so frustrated because what I want, I can't do it. You know, when anything bad happened to us, we want to be close to the people that we love the most.
Absolutely.
In my case, I cannot do it.
Hmm.
And they evacuate all the people from the city. So I was rounded up with the crowd, and then they push us to keep moving, keep going. So after a few displaced, they move us to a different location. So I end up in this big camp. That was a camp for single men and women. There was originally 1,000 people.
Oh my.
Yeah, and it's in the middle of nowhere and in the middle of the rice field. So they send us to work in the rice field every day, 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. And this camp was secured by the armed guard. They watch us every hour. So we have no freedom to do anything of our own will, our own way. We just follow the rule very strict, and we were giving very little food to eat. We were starving. So I was exhausted, starved, and then eventually sick. Many of us got many sickness, and we pass on to each other because our immunity it was so low that we will get anything that
Abs-
everybody else has.
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I became very sick, almost died. But during that time, that's when I realized all I want is to survive. I don't care about whatever I left behind at home. At home, I just want to survive because I want to go back home. I want to go find my family. I have no idea how are they doing. So so that is my purpose during those during the time. Um, I cannot just think about uh, get angry at them. No, there is no time to get angry. There's no time to revenge or be upset. I'm busy fighting for my life. I'm busy trying to catch my next breath. Will I survive the next hour or the next day? That's all I can do. The surviving mode is so intense.
As I'm listening to your story, as you said, this took place in 1975. Okay. And just 30 plus years before that, we saw a similar situation in Europe, when Hitler was in power and, you know, he chose who he wanted to live, who he didn't want to live, and put people in camps and did basically the same thing. And it is so sad that in those 30 years, we didn't learn enough that things should not happen. And we're seeing it again today in the Ukraine. And, it's not that I want you to retell your story and feel the pain, but in telling the story, we all have to like open our eyes and say, hey, this keeps happening. Okay. And why? And what can we do? But most of all, how do we survive? And listening to what you said was you really couldn't think about your family. You had to think about you one moment at a time so you could survive to eventually get back to them.
Yes. Yes.
So for 4 years, you were basically like a robot making it day by day.
Yes. Yes.
Were you able to, and I don't know if this is the right term or not, but were you able to make friends or connections with other people in the camp that helped help you get through those 4 years?
Yes. Fortunately, there are other women in the camp that we kind of build a sisterhood type of environment. So we reach out to each other. At one point in my time there, I become blind at night. There's a term, it's called night blindness.
Right.
When you are when when you don't have enough nutrient for your whole body, especially for your eye, you become blind at night. So that's what happened to me for a few years. And when you are blind at night time, you cannot go to the bathroom or anything like that. So I reach out to my next door, to my next lady that lay down, that sleep next to me. I ask for their help, and they feel they are so kind and help me.
And how old were you at this time? Because it sounds like you were a young girl, finishing school, going away to go to college.
Yes, I was young. I was in my early 20s.
So here you are in your early 20s and 4 years of a horrible situation. How did the situation resolve itself? How did you get out of the camp?
Well, after 4 years enduring this hardship, there was a little light. there was a, there was a liberation. There's an outsider, somebody um, secretly seek out help from the neighbor country. That in that case was Vietnam. So the Vietnamese group come and try to kick out those murderer, the chase them out. But I was still under captivity. They move our camp closer and closer to the jungle, and I keep going with them because I was frail. I don't have enough strength and energy to run away. Keep going with them, and then when I realize it's a jungle, I say, "Oh no, no, I cannot keep going with them because I need to go find my family." That's when God inspired me, encouraged me, gave me courage to think about running away. This is it. This is it. No more. So I did plan an escape.
And did you know exactly where you were and how you were going to go from where you were to where you wanted to go?
I have no idea. I have no idea. And we don't have a map or anything like that. But I gathered three trusted friends, again, my sisterhood friend. I told them that I want to run away. Would you go with me? And they all say yes.
Ah,
So I'm just so grateful that they say yes because I was too frail to do anything by myself. I need some help. And they did. So we escaped in the middle of the night. You know, the night in the jungle? It's black. It's black.
wow. I can't imagine because I've never seen a jungle other than in a movie or in pictures. Um, and that has to be a very scary time. Not only is it black, but there are sounds in the jungle that you don't know. And if you can't see where you're going, you don't know if you're walking into something even more dangerous than where
Yeah.
you just left.
Yeah.
And you were just a group of women, no men, just women who said, "Hey, we're going to be strong enough and get out of here."
Yeah. Yes. We um we were so brave.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. So, how long did it take you from the day that you started planning this till you finally were getting close enough to family?
Not long. It's only a few days. Starting
Okay.
from my thought, from thinking, and then reach out to my friends, and then we just whisper to each other what we are going to do, and It just within a few days. It's not much to plan because we don't have much to do. We don't have much to use to plan. So
And did you have to hide out this whole time that you were trying to get back home because you didn't know what other dangers there were?
yeah, it was a surprise for us as soon as we get out of the jungle and we keep walking, and then eventually we saw some people. They seem to be walking and coming and going at the leisure. We didn't know what's going on. We realized that the whole country had been liberated 4 months before we escaped.
Oh, wow.
That's why those people are at leisure. They are not under the restrict rule anymore.
So did those people help you then move forward?
Yeah, they gave me a direction, where to go and so on. So that's how we find our way home.
So what was it like when you got home and knocked on the door and said, "Hi, family, I'm here"?
Yeah, there was a surprise, happy surprise, because my mom told me that my dad keep riding his bicycle everywhere and looking for me. He keep asking people, "Have you seen my daughter? Have you seen my daughter?" Everywhere. No answer. Nobody ever see me. Of course, I was in the jungle.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So now that you two are liberated, did it take you long to get um used to being at home, to being free, to not being captive anymore? Because 4 years is a long time that, leaves a big impression on us.
Yeah, it take it take a long time. But when I get into my family, the old lifestyle remind me back. I remember how we used to live, how we used to do operate and everything. It just all the old memory come back, and we just live like normal life again. But the whole country was a big mess. There's no infrastructure, there's no government. At this time, there's no government.
Wow.
Imagine the country without government. So there was a gap of time in between, and there's no money. When they shut down the country 4 years ago, they shut down the bank and the marketplace. So that means there's no money exchange. So now we have to find a way to make a living. So instead of using money, we use a little piece of jewelry like necklace. If you have a necklace, you cut a little piece to exchange for something. And we also use rice because Cambodia is so rich in rice. We use rice as the medium to exchange for good and service.
So you sort of all resorted back to um, basically ancient times when I have something you can use. And so I'm going to exchange it for something that I can use.
Yes, it's a barter, like
Yes,
barter system. Mm.
absolutely. And, I think if that were to happen in America today, um, I'm not sure that most of us, the majority of us, could survive it because, at least from my viewpoint, here in America, we all want more than everybody else. We're we say we're good at sharing, but we typically are not. Um, but in your case, in the village, people realized that this is what they had to do. This was another survival skill. So, when did you get to the point where um, life became more normalized? That um, you could work, you could make a living, that um, you could plan for the future.
Hmm. Now that I remember before I left the country, no, life was still not back to normal. We are still in chaotic situation. There's no school, no nothing. The young children just play around and no place to go. And I'm still recovering from my frail, from my physical
Right.
depletion. So it took me a little more than a year to recover back to like 80%. Um, but we tried our very best. All the people try to make a marketplace. You have some vegetable, you have some fruit, bring it to the market, and somebody else have this and that, and exchange and barter. You have rice, just bring it to the market and exchange for fruit and vegetable. So go I start to rebuild our new life like that, open a little convenience store, and I bought something from other people and make it more like a little store for people to come and buy something. I use the word buy because we know but buy without money.
Right. Exactly. So, when you left your country, did you leave on your own, or did your whole family, you know, migrate with you? How did all that happen?
Well, during this chaotic time when the country was still not under any normal situation, my mom realized that we are still in a dangerous time. So she was fearful for me because I was a single woman. I was a subject of being abused or raped or anything like that. So she had an idea. One of her cousin have a plan to go to the border of Thailand, and she found out about that. She said, "Oh, let me send my daughter with you." So she convinced me to go with her cousin. And I was not convinced that I don't I don't want to go because I have been dreaming of living together with my family. And now I reach my goal. Why do you? But my mom had a better idea. She said, "Yes, honey, you can go if you do better, if you know if you are lucky, you get to the other side and you do better, eventually you might be able to come back and help us." So that's the magic word.
So, now you leave again, um, and things are better when you get to your destination. Um, but what did you have in the back of your mind the whole time? I'm going to do well enough so I can go bring my family to me.
Yes, yes. My life, I well, life in Cambodia, mostly in Asia, we a family are so close knit.
Right.
We are not individualists like in America. We are group, we are cluster. We love our family. We never have a nursing home for our old people. We are the nursing home. So that's how the Asian people lifestyle is. So I'm not no different. Everything I do is for the benefit for the whole family.
So, were you finally able to bring everybody to you? Were you finally able to be that family that you were brought up to be?
Yes, eventually, but it take a long time. it take 8 years. It took 8 years because when on my journey, it's not too difficult because at the beginning, the United Nations built the refugee camp along the border to receive us. And then a few years later, they shut down. I don't know why they shut down, but they closed the camp. But my family didn't come until after they closed the camp. That's the challenge. But I worked through the challenge. I worked through the system and do whatever I need to do. I get all the help I could possibly do. I reach out to congressmen, senator, all the nonprofit organization in the area. So I got a lot of help. The church, and
And so,
eventually I was
yeah.
able to bring my whole family.
So what I hear you saying is even though you didn't you weren't trained how to be a survivor, those survivor skills just they developed because you knew the type of life that you wanted and you were determined that you were going to have it.
Yes, yes, because I wouldn't be happy if I'm just live by myself. I need my family. I want to help out. It's not just for me to survive or enjoy my own life. No, my life is to support my family and vice versa.
And that is how life should be for all of us. Um, it's remarkable when families can support each other. And, uh, I obviously do not come from an Asian family, but I come from a family that is supportive like that. We may live in different parts of the country, um, but we are there for each other. We do come together, we help each other out. And when again I read your bio and I look at it, it's like the inspiration is that if you could make it through what you did, we all can. It's not going to be easy, obviously, like you said. Um, and I just can't imagine you left a small farming village to go to the big city to get your education. And instead, you are captured, you're put in a camp, and you work probably harder than you ever would have on your parents' farm.
Right.
Um, but you also knew not to wallow in your pity because many of us would probably feel that way. Oh, woe is me. I can't handle this. You know, somebody come save me. And the only one who could save you was yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
So let's go back a little bit and tell me about this sisterhood. You had a core of women that, traveled with you to make it back home. Have you, did you stay in touch with each other? Was that at all possible?
Well, after they accompany me to find my family, we invite them to stay with us. So they live with us for about a year. And then they realize that they need to go find their own family. It's not possible. They have no idea what happened and where their family went to. We have no idea because during those 4 years that we were in captivity, this communist regime killed a lot of people um, based on their background. If people have higher education, have a higher profession, have something to do with the previous government, these are all went into the black list that they will be eliminated. So with for that reason, my three friends, they have no idea what happened to their family.
And this is a story again that has gone on through the ages. And just in, you know, the 20th and 21st century, we see it being repeated over and over again. So, what do you say to people who um, don't believe that any of this happened? Because um, I'm very blessed. My immediate family was not part of the Holocaust, but many of our distant relatives were. And from a very young age, I was taught about the Holocaust and that it really happened. And then when things developed in the Far East and communism was rearing its ugly head, and, you know, people were being killed and uh, pulled together like herds of animals. My parents made me watch the news. They made me understand it. And it was like, we need you to appreciate what you have, but don't take it for granted.
Mhm.
And now, most recently, as I watch what is happening in Ukraine and realize that my grandparents lived there and how they survived and got out. And then I read your story, and it's even more poignant because it's like, I was a young adult, your age, when you were going through this. And I was just watching it on the news, learning about it. So, what do you say to people who are much younger than us who probably can't connect with it?
Mm. What would I say to the younger people? Well, I would say that don't dismiss, don't dismiss the reality that it happened. And that's one of the reasons why I want to write my book, because there are some comments that come to me and say it may not happen. That make me very, very mad. It's insulting to me, very insulting to 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 realize that I struggle. I almost lost my life, and 2 million people of my people lost their life, and people did not take it seriously. Are you kidding? Where are you hiding during all those years?
Right.
So I said, open your eye, because if you're not careful, it might come to your neighborhood.
And we've, like I said, we've seen it, and maybe not as much of an impact as you went through, but we see it in small clusters here in the States and in other countries. And you're right, we need to be aware, and we need to start being kinder. And it first starts with being kind to ourselves, which in some ways I think that's what you were doing those 4 years. You may not have realized it, but you were being kind. You were giving yourself that opportunity to survive, but for the right reasons. Okay. Not because, you know, you wanted to get into college and get your degree. No, it was to come back to family, to create the community that you also deserved. So you say that you want to write a book. Are you writing it now, or is it still a dream?
I already wrote my book.
Okay, well then tell us about it. And I love it. And the
how
books, yep.
how I survived the killing fields. A story of hope, love, and determination.
And how can our listeners find that book?
The book is available on my website, saraim.com. It's just my first name, Sara, last name, IM.com.
And we will make sure that's all in the show notes. And I know that you do speaking engagements. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so our listeners can find you at your website and engage with you there. And, I just can't stress it enough that these are conversations that we all have to have. And we have to have them with the younger generation as well, so that, as Sarah has said, be aware. Let's stop the cruelty that has been going on since the beginning of time. Um, it's about time we learned a few lessons.
Yeah. So in my book, toward the end of my book, I also share some lesson that I learned. So I was said, if you see somebody that look like coming from another country, be kind to them, because sometimes you don't know what's behind their story. They might just survive, and you give them a reason to enjoy their new life. So that's what I experienced. I experienced so much kindness when I arrived in this wonderful country. The ladies from the church in the local area support me so much, and I just never forget their kindness and their support. So you can show kindness to other people, even though come from a different culture, and we are all the same. We have our sadness, we have our happiness, we have our mind. We can be kind to each other. So we are the same human being. So I'm just appreciate you, Karen, for doing this, because you give me an opportunity to to share the other side of the people that come from another country.
Well, I have to tell you that I always remind myself that even though I was born here, my grandparents on one side of the family were not, they were immigrants. And I'm so glad that they had the opportunities that they did. On the other side of my family, it was my great grandparents who were immigrants. And again, I don't know too many of us, other than Native Americans, who can actually say that they didn't come from someplace else. Um, and I also find it interesting how many people have done these genealogy programs and have find out that they didn't even realize that maybe they had family that came from Asia or Europe or South America. And it's like, you know what? We are all a mixture of humanity. And um, the sooner we can be kind to each other, the better this world's going to be. And
Yeah.
I hope no one else has to ever endure what you did in Cambodia. I'm so glad that you're here to tell your story, to have a smile on your face because you were able to survive.
Thank you, Karen. Well said. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you and appreciate the show that you are offering. And it's a platform that people can learn from so many sources.
Well, I appreciate that. I want to wish you well and stay in touch because I think this is a show that we're going to have to repeat again someday soon. Take care
Awesome.
now. Bye bye now.
Bye.